Hey, what's up YouTube? Casey here. In this video, we are going to perform ping sweep. Now, before we go to ping sweep, we need to understand what ping is. So, ping is basically a protocol which sends ICMP packet to any IP address that we want, provided that it allows IPMP. So, ping.com. There you go. So if you look at what you've done, we tried to ping google.com. The IP address is 172.217.160.142. We sent ICMP packets to this IP address, and that server has replied us this. So we can see ICMP sequence TTL is time to live, the number of hops it has done to reach that server, and the time it has taken. So this is what ping does. To summarize, we can say the ping can be used to determine whether or not a machine is active. So let's try to ping our own IP address. So before that, we need to find our IP address. So if config. If you look at here, you can check out the IP address of this computer, 192.168.0.3, and the net mask is 255.255.255.0. Net mask is otherwise called subnet mask. So from this subnet mask, we can infer that what 255 in binary is 8 ones. So in an IP address, we have 32 bits. So the first 3 bytes are full of 1 and the last octet is 0. So if you have a rudimentary understanding of the networking, you would know that the 1 represents the network and 0 represents host. With that in mind, we can know that the host part is only the 4th octet, 8 zeros. That's it. That's all we have for host part. So that is the only octet we'll be able to manipulate to find the other IP addresses that are in our network. So let's ping it first of all. 192.168.0.3 -C1. So what -C does is to define the count even before performing the ping. -C is 1, so it's going to send only one ICMP packet before. See, only one ICMP packet is sent. If we look at the second line, we can see the confirmation of the ping being successful. There is 64 bytes from 192.168.0.3 ICMP sequence 1, TTL and time. So in order to write a ping sweep script, we need to ping the IP address, and in order to confirm that the ping process is completed, we need it to print the IP address that has been pinged. In this case, 192.168.0.3, we are basically pinged ourselves, so we need to make the script in such a way that it prints the IP address that has been pinged, that is 192.168.0.3. So in order to do that, we are going to implement a particular set of commands while typing them. So let's get going. -C1. So we want the second line, 64 bytes from etc. Yeah. Grab 64 bytes. See, it has only grabbed second line. But in this line, we need only the IP address that is in the 4th field. So in order to do that, we need to use cut command. Cut -D -F4. Let me tell you what it means. -D indicates the delimiter. Delimiter we have declared the delimiter as space, and then considering that, print the fourth field of the line that has been grubbed before. So basically what pipe does is it takes the output of the first command and sends it as the input to the second command. So we have pinged an IP address once, we have grubbed it, the second line, and we are cutting the grub part. So here we go. We got the IP address. Delimiter here is space, and 4 is the fourth field. 64 is in the first, bytes is in the second, from is in the third, and the IP address with the colon is in the fourth. Since they have no space, it gets printed with the IP address as well. So we need to get rid of that, right? We only need the IP address, we need to remove the rest. So in order to do that, we need to truncate it. TR basically means truncate. -D, then colon. This basically truncates the colon. Now we got the IP address. Like I said before, once we ping the IP address, we need the confirmation of the ping as the IP address itself. This is the proof that the ping is successful now, according to the series of command that we have written. But this command looks, series of command looks a little bit lengthy. If any of you know a little bit of programming called awk, we can make it a little bit simpler. So let's start from the beginning again. We have basically pinged it once, but instead of grabbing the second line and cutting it and printing the field, basically instead of piping it twice, we can just pipe it once using awk. Awk is basically a text processing program which is a lot more powerful and has the ability to replace basic commands like grep, sed, cut, whatever you name it. It can text process like a beast. So let's try to achieve the same thing using awk. Awk This basically gives us the same output as the series of command before. So let me explain what you've done here. So awk $1 means the first field, like we saw in the previous set of commands in the cut. First field equals 64, print 4. Here what we have done is it's akin to if statement. So basically what it says is awk, if the $1, if the first field is 64, then print the fourth field of the line. If the $1 means $1 is 64, print the fourth field of the line which starts from 64. That's what it says. So awk $1 equals 64, print $4, then we truncate it. And we can do it in a different way as well. It will be a lot easier than this, to be honest. Cap 6. So what we have done is we have searched for a string, search for a line that starts with 6 from the command before. So we are seeing ping dash 192.ca 192-c1. The output of that is this. So what we have said is the 6 between the double slash is the search string. So the second line is the only line which has the first string. The cap indicates the first string. Second line is the only line in the ping command output which starts from 6. So if you have found that, print the fourth field of that line. So that is the IP address that we've got here. So it just makes the process easier, right? If you have a time, you can try learning awk a bit. It's really wonderful. I guarantee that it's worth it. So let's go into actually writing a script that we intended. So when ping sweep, let's name it ping sweep.sh. Ping sweep.sh. So for, let me go into the insert mode first. For IP in 1 to 254, do Ctrl+Shift+C, then paste it here. So while writing a script, when you want to perform a particular task repeatedly, since it is in the for loop, we need to append an ampersand. Do and then done. So here we are going to pass the argument from the script. $1.$IP. Wow. $IP. Yeah, that's it. So let me explain what you've done here. So when we execute the script, as I said before, the first 3 octets remain the same as they belong to the network. We are going to pass it as an argument to the script that we are going to write. So $1 is that, the first 3 octet. And the only thing that is going to differ in the IP address is the last octet. So if you notice here, we didn't put 0 to 255 in the for. We instead put 1 to 254. It's because always in a network, the first ever IP address goes to the network ID. It is interpreted as the network ID, and the last address is usually used for broadcast address. So the first and last IP addresses are usually neglected to calculate the number of hosts that are present in the network. So that's why we have 1 to 254. Hope you understood. We save and quit. let's give it the executable permission. chmod plus x ping sweep dot sh dot slash ping sweep dot sh. Now here what we are going to pass as the argument here is the $1 that we have written in the script. So it's the first three octets, 192.168.0. Oh, something's up here. Pin dash C. Oh, I made a minor mistake here. Pin dash C1. I hope now it runs properly. Oh, here we go. So in our network we have two IP addresses active, 192.168.0.1 and our IP address, that's it. But even though the script works fine, we can crank it up a notch a little bit by, let's say you forget to pass the argument. In that case, we can do this. If $1 equals nothing. So the double quotes has nothing. This statement indicates that if the argument is not given, or if the argument is null, nothing, if you didn't give any argument, then echo pass the argument for ping sweep. Else we can, else means if the argument is actually passed, then the script can run as it is intended. So you have to complete the if statement using if fi. Escape, save and quit. So let me check a little bit before running the script. It's number 1. 5. Yeah. So let's try running it again. Now without the arguments passed. See? Now it serves as a reminder. If you forget that you have to pass the argument for the ping sweep, then you can just perform it. See? That's the purpose it serves. So that brings it to the end of the video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want me to cover any other topic from Linux or anything that you want, please leave it in the comment section. Give it a subscribe if you want. See you next time.